of light and wisdom and the primal origin raised high beyond all things. Pour forth a ray of your brightness into the darkened places of our minds. Disperse from our souls the twofold darknesses into which we were born, sin and ignorance. You make eloquent the tongues of infants. Refine our speech and pour forth upon our lips the goodness of your blessing. Grant to us keenness of mind, capacity to remember, skill in learning, subtlety to interpret, and elegance in speech. May you guide the beginning of our work, direct its progress, and bring it to completion. You who are true God and true man, who live and reign, world without end.
Amen. So good morning. So just want to, we were talking mainly last time. That's very interesting, everyday life we were using it, but without much, reflection on that, about the calendar. We were using every day the names of the months and things and how it came to be, and how we were, every time we were using the year 19 or 2013, but how it came to be, how the world became a kind of a Christianized, Christian, how the great influence of Christianity, That is a very interesting thing to note. To that, I just want to, last time we had time, just one more thing to add to that, about the date of Easter. That we did not talk last time, no? The date of Easter. Easter. So we know Christmas is every year, it is December 25th. I have told a little bit of about the tradition of the Christmas celebration. Of course, that is connected with the what's called the pagan feast of sun worship, and it was after when Constantine became the emperor, and he began to patronize the Christianity. Of course, by the request of the Pope, he stopped that worship of sun as a feast, and then instead of, then the people wanted to have the festal celebration instead of the sun, the Pope asked the birth of Christ. That's why even now maybe the Armenian Rite, they celebrate the what's called January 6th as the Epiphany and Christmas together. Even now, the Armenians. And so these are things we have taught a little bit, And then just say, what is the date of Easter? The Easter is changing every year, no? We don't have a fixed date for Easter. It is a movable feast, no? It's a movable feast. So there is a theology behind it, in the sense the date in which Jesus was risen from the dead. So how to celebrate it? So is it the date itself or the day which is important? So when Jesus actually died in AD almost 30, AD 30, to our understanding, AD 30 or 29, and that was the day, according to the calculation, it was in the Jewish month of Nisan. Just a moment, let me see, just to bring to your notice some of the, because this is something a little bit complicated, but when you get the idea, then it is very easy. So, for example, in the Jewish calendar, they have their own calendar, Jewish calendar, and we know we have for some day, especially the Easter, this something comes with the Jewish calendar. For example, in the where is it? I was just looking. In the Jewish calendar, the days, there are 7 days in the Jewish calendar. The names are Yom Rishon, Yom there is no need of writing these things, just say Yom Sheni, Yom Shlipshi, Yom Revi, Yom Kamishi, Yom Shisi, Yom Sabbath. These are the days. These are the days, 7 days. Okay? Yom. But there is the months. There are months. Just to see the months, for example, Tishrei. See, there are. But the 5th month, the first one is Tishrei. Second one's Marsheshwan. Third one Kislev. Fourth one Tevet. Fifth one Shevat. Then seventh Adar. And 8th one is Nisan. That is very important. Nisan. Why this is important? It is, said to be, or taken to be Nisan. See, he died. That was the Friday. He died on Friday. And that is, according to the Jewish calendar, it is in the month of Nisan, 14th. Nisan, 14th. That was a Friday. Jesus died on Nisan, 14th and Friday. And that is almost like equivalent to our spring equinox. This day. Do you know what is spring equinox? No. This is the spring equinox, March. The
March 21st?
March, the spring equinox comes almost like, that is March 20 or 21st. It comes around. Do you know what is equinox?
Yes.
The days,
That's the point where the days start getting longer.
That is almost like half and half. Then the day and night, almost like half and half. No, right. Almost like this is the, and there is another day is going to be. I think it is today, no, or tomorrow, September 22nd.
The fall starts.
So the another equinox, that is the fall equinox, that is September 22nd.
Isn't it solstitious?
What is that?
The opposite to equinox is solstitious. When the days start,
The solstice.
okay.
Yeah.
The days start getting
shorter, and now the begin to be the night begin to be longer. No, so this day, this is the thing we have to understand. That is, it is when Jesus died on the cross on this day. This is the Nisan 14th of the Jewish calendar, and that is almost equivalent to March 20. The church takes it, the March 20. So this is it could be March 20 or 21st, I told you, This church takes it as a March 20. Now comes the calculation of Easter.
This also corresponds to, I just forgot the Jewish holiday, to the Passover.
Yeah, that is, of course. That is the Passover feast. Is the Nisan 14th is the Passover time. It is, of course. It is just, that is very clear, That's why the theology, Jesus is the new Paschal lamb. Every Paschal celebration they kill a lamb, no? And then eat of it in remembrance of what happened in Egypt. When the what's called the angel of the death, no? He passed through the streets of Egypt, killing all the firstborns. And the Israel people were asked to kill a lamb and just sprinkle the blood on the doors, so that when the angel of the death, when he pass by, So it can, it can be a mark of, their salvation from not being killed by the angel of the death. So that Paschal lamb, that is the theology of the theology of the Paschal lamb. That is the typology what we were talking about. That Paschal lamb which was killed during the time of Moses, and which brought salvation to the Israel people. So, and Jesus now being the Paschal lamb, was killed for the salvation of the whole mankind. That is what we call the theology of the Passover.
But it's kind of funny that even in our own minds we still think in cycles. And it's just like when I'm talking to my wife and we're about to enter the spring, she starts going, oh, this is about the time that my
sure.
died. So we tie cycles with events.
Sure, we have, of course. All these things are repeat, no? All the festival things and all that's all
and
repeating.
When we get into the spring, we start thinking about weddings and who got married and all kind of things. So we tie everything to events.
The other thing that's interesting is December 25th is right around the time of the winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year. So at the time of the greatest darkness, a light was born.
I think that is the reason why I think they celebrate the sun god. That is the festival of sun god.
And now we celebrate spring.
Yeah.
Beginning of spring.
Yeah. So here is coming the calculation of the Easter. So this is March 20th. And they understand it, it was on that day, it was a full moon day. That was a full moon day. Now we celebrate, and then, so March 25th, then a full moon. Now 2 elements. And the third element to be added is, Jesus was risen from the dead on a Sunday. No? On the first day of the week. We hear that. So, the Jewish people, they were celebrating the day of rest or the day of the Lord, the last day of the week, that we call Sabbath. Yeah, the 7th day. So, when we, the Christians began to celebrate the most, what's called the highest celebration of their life, Christians, what was it? Easter. So, it was on a Sunday. He died on Friday, and then Sunday he rose, for resurrection. So, the Sunday was the most highest celebration. So, three things joined together. So, full moon, March 20, and a Sunday. Okay, these 3 elements put together is the date of Easter. How?
But the moon changes.
Yeah, that is that was the calculation. That is why the days are, Easter days are changed. See, how calculation? So, first of all, we take this thing, March 20th. That's a fixed day for us, we know that, March 20th. And then afterwards, take the March 20th, then the full moon after. Yeah, so the full moon after March 20th.
So it can be up to 28 days after.
So the full moon could be
April.
variable, no? So the full moon comes.
But I don't think that matters to man, because man just wants to know, take for instance the farmer's almanac. The almanac is really just published in phases, so a farmer knows when to plant, when to harvest, when to do the things that he needs to do. Man in itself says, well, is it time for me? And they just think it's a cyclical thing. We're not concerned with preciseness at that point. We just want to know.
Yeah, but they were really looking all these things.
Yeah.
Especially the Egyptians, who precisely calculated these things. The days of Easter, and it was they who really, precisely tried to do these things, especially the Egyptians. And that's why I told at that time, in one of the Easter letters in which the Patriarch of Alexandria announced the Easter celebration, which will be the coming year Easter celebration. That was, I think that was in 367, I think, no? In which he enumerated the 72 books, 27 books of the New Testament. Patriarch of Alexandria, St. Athanasius. I told you one day how days before, how came to be the list, the canon of the Bible. It was on this calculation. I mean, it was nothing to do with these things, but it was on an Easter letter. He used to send a letter to all the churches announcing the day of Easter, because Easter was not a fixed day, and therefore there should be a calculation. So the Egyptians were considered to be good mathematicians, and they calculated and fixed the date of Easter. So they adopted this way of doing it. March 20th, and the full moon comes, and then after the Sunday. So the Sunday, when is the Easter day? Sunday after the full moon, after March 20th.
So it can be anywhere between March 20 and April.
So a Sunday after full moon, after March 20th. So let us now make an exercise. It's beautiful. Okay, let us see, for example, that would give you a very clear picture of it. For example, this year, that means 2013, which was the day of Easter? Just to remember, can you remember?
March 27, 28, 29, something like that?
March 31st.
Yeah.
March 31st was the...
Yes. Because Thursday, which is my birthday, my birthday was March 28, was Thursday.
Yeah.
And that was...
Okay, how? Let us now calculate a little bit of this. So, March 20th, after March 20th, okay, the full moon was 27th. It was Wednesday. March in 2013, the full moon day was March 27th. Okay? And that was a Wednesday, and comes the Sunday after the 31st. So that was a very early date of Easter, because after March 20th, in 7 days came the full moon and the Sunday after. So in March itself occurred Easter. Yeah, got it? Now another day, for example, let us take 2012. That is, in March the full moon was, unfortunately it was March 8th. In March the full moon was March 8th. So according to our calculation, it should come after, so March 20th full moon, the full moon after March 20th. So it then fell in April. Okay? The full moon after March 20th, what was it? So in April 6th was the full moon, the full moon after March 20th. April 6th.
What day was it on the day?
It was a Friday. And then April 8th was Easter.
So the full moon determines Easter?
Yeah.
Wow.
I can still remember when calendars used to be printed with the phases of the moon on it.
Yeah. And
Well, they still
When it's
are.
full moon, when it's new moon.
They still are.
When it's quarter.
so that is March, that means 2012. It was the full moon after March 20th was April 6th, and that was a Friday. And the next, that means in 2 days, March 8th, April 8th was the day of Easter. Okay, let us take one more year back. That is 2011. That was maybe the longest day. In the full moon in March was March 19. So we could not take the full moon just before that, just one day before it was. So we had to go see April 18th was the full moon after March 20th. And it was a Monday again long, and it was April 24th was the Easter. April 24th. Almost like the longest the period, no?
Yeah, because usually the cycle of the moon is about 28 days, right?
28, 29. Yeah, I think not exactly, not precise. When we calculate exactly days, it is a little bit varies. No, I mean, I think 28 point something like that.
So the closest, the closest can be will be March 20 will be.
So, for example, if full moon comes March 21st, then if it comes, on a Friday or Saturday, March 22nd could be what's called the earliest Easter day. March 22nd. And or even see Sunday after full moon. Okay. Now let us one more calculation. When which day would be the coming Easter? That is
2014.
Yeah, 2014.
Well,
this year, March 16th is going to be the full moon in March.
which is what they will.
March 16th is going to be the full moon in March. So we have no chance of celebrating Easter in March. So the full moon in April, and that is 15th April is the full moon. 15th April is full moon. That's a Tuesday.
The 20th will be
20th April will be the coming Easter.
A month after March.
The Hebrew calendar is basically a lunar calendar.
Lunar calendar. Almost all the calendars were lunar calendar. Before, just the Copernicus and, Galileo, they all understood, the what's called the problem of, the solar system and these things. All calendars were, because only they could watch very clearly, see there is a full moon, then there is the what's called the other moon, between 14 days, and it occurs cyclically, so they could watch it. That's why all the calendars, based on that moon, the moon thing.
Which is why the Jewish holidays.
Yeah, even the Jewish calendar, even now they follow. I mean, for festivals, the Jewish calendar based on moon.
Which I think this year is 5,774.
I don't know exactly. And the Muslims, for example, all their festivals are based on the moon. On moon, that's mean, for example, the Ramadan. And interestingly, the Ramadan when finishes, that the Ramadan, that is, seeing the moon. And in some places, one day, another day, places in some another day. Because they see that the moon, we see the moon today. In, for example, this year's Ramadan, in all the places, in all the countries, I think, celebrated one day, and in Yemen, they celebrated the next day. Because according to their calculation, the moon appears on this day.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, this year that happened in Yemen. It was a different day.
And I only say that because, again, in the time where there was greater literacy, people needed to be aware by the moons and the suns and everything else. So they had these gauges that they looked at. Oh, we're in March and the moon is here, and so now they're...
Okay, I understood, how to, why this problem. It is because of the Jewish calendar, the Nisan 14th. It is based on that idea that the Easter is based on now is calculated. Now it is okay, because we have all these calculation, precisely we can calculate all these things. You can see, you can now go on to the online Easter dates, you can see all the days of Easter, even hundreds of years after. We can just see that. Now they can calculate that. Now, okay, understood, the day, how the fixing of the Easter day. Then one more thing, just it is not with the Easter, it is with the Christmas. The Christmas cribs and things like that. That we all make our Christmas cribs and mangers, in the churches and in some of the houses and all those things. When it started.
Talking about the nativity scene?
Right.
It was started precisely by Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint Francis of Assisi started. He just created a manger in 1223 in the year. Before this year, there was no mangers.
190 years ago.
Francis of Assisi, he just wanted to, make Christmas in a very meaningful way, just made the first manger. And just, he just took it, and then, just showed in the street. And that was the beginning of making the nativity, the mangers. And it was not before that.
Father, forgive me, but I'm having a problem with Easter. Not a problem, but a question with Easter. By calculating Easter according to this lunar calendar, we're acknowledging the significance of that cycle. We didn't just pick a day on the Gregorian calendar and say that's Easter Sunday every year, the same day.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we use it? What is the significance of maintaining that structure?
That is mainly, first of all, I told you, this is mainly the Sunday, the importance of Sunday. See, it was because there was even a very big controversy regarding the what's called the date of Easter. Just after the church became free, this problem of celebrating Easter was a great problem in the church, because some people wanted to celebrate Sunday after the Nisan 14th, and while others wanted to celebrate this on the same day, that is called the Nisan 14th, as a day of Jesus' death. And the theology behind it, the death and resurrection, that is one event. He died and risen. There is no real time gap according to their understanding. So that is a theological. But all the Gospels says, he died on the Friday and rose again on Sunday. So Sunday became one of the the biggest day of observance in Christian world, especially Christian liturgy. So, and it was decided in the what's called the Council of Nicaea, the first ecumenical council in 325. The day of Easter would be this way. In 325. That was the day of what's called the year of the celebrating the first ecumenical council under the leadership of Constantine. And they decided, the bishops, they decided that Easter should be celebrating on Sunday after the Nisan. And the Nissan problem, when is the Nissan problem? That we say, we see this is the basing on the calculation on full moon and things like that. That is the thing. Not especially this is to give more importance to the observance of Sunday. And that's why in Jewish religion they observe Sabbath as the most important day. Still they celebrate it for them. But for us it is Sunday.
They don't work on Saturday.
What is the connection in the Jewish calendar between Nisan 14 and the full moon? Is there...
We have exactly, their calculation of the moon, that is moon cycle, there it's all based on the moon cycle. And for us, only the Nisan, on that year, when Jesus died, that was the Passover. According to their calculation, the Passover first came, happened to be on Nisan 14th. That is the only thing, what we have connection. Now, we see what we look into is the what's called the fixing of the day of Easter, not their Passover feast. But now you can see that our Easter and their celebration of the what's called the Passover feast, that comes almost like nearby, because of both calculations are based on the moon, the moon cycle, the lunar observations. Almost it comes, but we are independent. We are not really just depending on the Jewish people to fix our feast. No, we are, the Christians now, follow this method of fixing the Easter, while they have their own method of calendar fixing dates and things like that.
But we continue doing this just by tradition, not because we want to make the day about
March 20th is the name.
That is March 20th is because why March 20th now is because it's so important, because our solar system is also in that. Maybe on that day they did not know exactly what was the main, maybe their understanding was the kind of equinox, by observation.
I guess what's the significance of the full moon?
Maybe because I think there is no special significance as a theology or anything, but it was what's called astrological or astronomical significance only, maybe.
There's a big, bright reminder in the sky.
Yeah, there is no. That is.
Well, one of the things that the typology of it is, it's the greatest light in the darkness.
Yeah, but
it's just the Hebrew calendar is predominantly a lunar calendar.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts us onto the lunar timetable. Now, there's a phase of the lunar timetable, which in this particular time is Nisan 14.
Yeah.
Is around that time of the year.
They're almost like March 20th, 21st, yeah.
Reconciliation of the lunar cycle with the solar cycle.
And Jewish calendar all at the same time. So that's why it does this, because those three are kind of moving independently.
Yeah. Just,
line up.
I think all these things are a little bit mixed up, that's why all these three things we take into consideration: March 20th, full moon, and the Sunday. And we just see it could be almost like 21 month difference. It could be almost the date of the Easter.
So full moon is almost like to recreate the circumstances of that time. That it was a full moon.
When did Copernicus start making his calculations?
It was, I think, which year? I think 1300 and something like that. No?
Okay.
1500.
Maybe. Anyway, in the Middle Ages.
Okay.
Sure.
Father, this Nisan 14 date, you're saying that's when Jesus died.
According to the Jewish calendar, at that day, precisely it was, they say that was the Nisan 14, because
how do the Jews arrive at that date? Do they have records? Are they going by historical records?
Because they did not, make a record on Jesus' death. That's why, that's our problem. They made a record of the Nisan 14 that day, that year when Jesus died. They had their record of their feast,
Passover feast.
Passover feast.
Was the same.
Because that was important for them. Nobody thought, this death of Jesus would be the greatest day eventually in future. Nobody thought about it.
But there is no record indicating then that that's the date?
Except for our Gospels. No.
There was I thought I read that there was a historian during that.
But no. Only that's all later precisely. That was the day in which this man was crucified, and we don't have a record. No. Only thing is that in the year, I think 46 or something like that, there was a comment by a historian who is called Suetonius, who says, there was a man who was crucified and there are followers called Christians. Like not precise dates. No.
It's amazing though. The Romans crucified tens of thousands of people, and we know
nothing about them. And Jesus was one among them. You see, the name of the Calvary there, the Mount Calvary, how the name came, you know that?
That also means, and we say in the mystery, the mountain of the skull.
Yes, it is because in Greek, the skull or the head is called kephale. Kephale, that is the head. Then Calvario, Calvary, it is the mountain of the skulls. Because thousands of people were killed there, crucified, and they're all over the skulls were scattered. And from there, the name came, Calvary. And for them, the skull of this man was nothing but one among thousands. And nothing is known. Nothing is known. But only thing is, after there were some people who following this man, so they had some references on that. For example, Suetonius, then Tacitus, then comes Josephus. These people, except from Christian origin, these people, they make some references. Or Pliny the Younger, he was a police officer writing to Trajan, who was the emperor, who was persecuting Christians, asking him clarifications. So there are Christians. So what I should do? Should I execute these people by the fact that they are Christians, or should I look for some other cases, some other allegations? So he was asking, so that was a reference about Christians.
Well, I think the biggest anchor that we have is the fact that, like, the Last Supper was Passover feast.
Yeah.
It was Passover.
Wasn't there some credence to the argument too that they had to get rid of them on Friday because Saturday was the Sabbath?
Yeah, sure, that's also.
And they had to get rid of this troublemaker before the feast.
Yeah, sure, that is very clear. And it is said also in the Bible that it was going to be Sabbath, and they have to eat what's called the Passover feast without defile. So they want to finish it, on Friday itself.
It was customary practice to go break the legs of the crucified to make them die faster. And Jesus died very quickly, and so they did not have to break his legs, which
according to
the Psalms, where it said, "I may tell all my brothers where he was thrown for nothing."
Yeah, that's why that is brought.
He was an unblemished lamb.
That is brought, in the gospel to show that he was the promised Messiah,
He was
fulfilling all the Old Testament, what's called prophecies.
Well, when I was younger, they showed the fact that they didn't have to break his legs as something rather miraculous. But the more I studied the Passion and everything, I think the miraculous thing is he actually lived to actually make it to the cross.
Yeah.
I mean, the beating and everything that he took would have killed most people.
Oh, that that we can see, that is Passion of Christ, When you see that, it was that was almost like I think the Passion of Christ, that day, that movie. That brings almost like the reality, to see how it really happened almost.
I saw an interview with that actor, and they talked about the scourge of the scene, and he had a protective plate on his back. But he said, still, one of the lashes missed the plate, hit him in the ribs, and he said it almost flattened him.
Yes.
Well, I've done a little study in that too. Those, like the cat o' nine tails, those guards would sit around and sharpen the tips of that chain.
Yeah, sure.
So it would gouge out meat.
The meat.
Flesh.
Sure. There were, what's called, there were things, on every, there were, I think, not only one, I think there were 4 or 5, I don't know. The whip, it had, it all had many buds of these things, and one beat, it can take the flesh.
That's why through Scripture you hear of the punishment of 40 lashes minus 1. It's minus 1 because the 40th one usually killed them.
Well, yeah, somebody might die already.
After that movie, when I saw a real crucifix, well, this is really not true representation because we just put a little bit of blood here, a little blood here, and blood here. Is really very different.
Yeah. Okay. Now let us come back. This is something about the calculation and things like that. That is not more things to do about the study of what's called the Bible course. Somewhere indirectly connected. These things. All these things are in Passover feast. How the Passover feast is calculated. These things. This is, I said, because the Easter is going to come, when we see the manger and things like that, this is interesting, to note. Another thing is the Christmas tree. That was a tradition in Germanic people. The Anglo-Saxons had, that was a kind of a festival, they had a tree god. They worshipped a tree. And interestingly, we can see in the history of Charlemagne, he killed many people, the tree worshippers. Asked them, to convert to Christianity, and they refused and killed. There was a big tree surrounding, and then, they were worshipping trees. So it says that the Christmas tree comes from, this pagan feast of tree worship. Just, putting, bringing these things. It is, we can see this way, both ways. One, we can say, these pagan practices we are still doing. That is the negative way of taking it. There is another way of taking it. We have Christianized these things. No? We have, there was a tree worship. We no more worship trees. But at the same time, that idea, that tree, they worshipped. We Christianize in the sense, it is the Jesus, the light.
They used to dress up the tree also.
Yeah, that's all decorations are there. So we took it up and Christianized it, and now we use it as a beautiful presentation of Jesus, the light of the world. With these trees, just all these decorations and things like that. So we can either see a negative way of things and a positive way of looking at these things. So I would suggest always, look at a positive way. There are people maybe ignorant of all these facts. Of course, they might have read something about these things. Of course, it was a kind of a tree worship, and say, they then at once jump into the calculation or conclusion. This is a pagan feast. We are bringing back all these pagan elements into Christianity. No, that's not the thing. All Christian practices, almost all of them, that was all taken from our culture.
Father, where it comes, and this goes back to many years ago, when somebody sneezes, I always used to say, bless you. And this guy will never answer, never say thank you or anything. And one day he told me, he said, do you know that word that you say after people sneeze come from a pagan, da da da, and he was
It's okay.
well, I'm not telling you anything bad. I'm actually telling you something good. I'm asking for you to be blessed.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
How many people use the expression knock on wood?
Well,
That comes from the Anglo-Saxon pagans. They believed the spirits lived in the trees, and when you wanted to call the spirits of good fortune, you knocked on a tree. Knock on the wood.
Just imagine.
Doesn't work, right?
Knocking on it for years. Wow.
Okay.
When you sneeze, I think when you sneeze something, maybe your heart skips a beat. I mean, this is physically, I mean, medically, there's something there, that's why you say.
See, a sneezing, I think that is the what's called the velocity of that sneezing is almost like 60, 70 miles per hour.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
There was a pagan belief that when you sneezed, you were expelling a demon, that you had been possessed with a demon, and the sneeze was to expel that demon, and that's where the expression was, God bless you.
That's a very good explanation.
I notice most people nowadays say bless you. I never say that. I always say God bless you.
Okay, yeah. You see, God bless you, no?
I can't bless you.
You bless yourself.
Yeah. See, so that is just these things are all background issues. Now, just want to go, we have only 10 minutes. I'm going to fast go three things more to say all these things. First of all, before the birth of Jesus, just see the background in which he was born. There are three backgrounds, I would say. One is political background, another is a religious background, the third one is not very important for us, at least, that is a philosophical background. So political background in which Jesus was born, that was we call, what was the political background when Jesus was born?
Israel was occupied.
Rome, the Roman Empire all over the world. Except maybe the known countries at that time could be China and India were outside the Roman Empire. But all others were under the Roman Empire.
even the Nordic.
Maybe
The Nordic people.
that was, there were many. Even in America there were people, but that was known to.
Not talking north of Europe.
There was even the north of Europe, it was Germany, of course, Denmark, and then the what's called the Scandinavian countries. There were many Germanic tribes, they were ruling there. But at the same time, they were almost all of them were under the Roman Empire, and that's why that is the political situation. How the Roman Empire, started, to expand during the time of this. The big conquerors, like the big emperors, and what they did, it was in the March. The March is according to the beginning of already conquered time. Just start moving the army and conquer one after another. And it was for the generals, that was a prestigious thing. I conquered this country. So for them, that was a kind of real, life thing. Without, going for war, the soldiers, that was the most important occupation for that time. At that time, so these people every year, they went and conquered and expanded Roman Empire. And their system, the Roman system was, you go there one place, conquer the place, and if the king of that place accepts the sovereignty of the emperor of Rome, and if he is willing to pay the tax, then leave that man, leave that king, rule the country, but accepting these two facts: the sovereignty of Roman emperor and pay the tax.
So you're saying religion, politics, and taxes were the primary.
So, and it was, of course, there were, the Roman soldiers, because they want to, make sure that there is no problem for the Roman emperor, and they pay the tax. So, and the king, ruled the country as before, but under Rome, and paying tax. And this system was called Pax Romana. What do you mean by Roman peace? So, accepting the Roman sovereignty and paying tax means they are under this system. And this system provided real, for the people a protection that this is under Rome. If somebody comes and attacks, then this country will be protected by the Roman soldiers. So they are now almost like more security for them. Okay, so this is the way they were, using this thing, and because of that, they had a prosperity even because of this.
And it lasted quite a long time.
Long time.
Almost 200 years.
Yeah, almost, it was, I think, almost 300, Then again, Constantine made, I don't know whether it's a mistake or not, he divided he transferred the what's called the capital from Rome to Constantinople. He moved. That is his name, that name is from him, after him, Constantine.
Today that is
in Turkey, Istanbul. So, Diocletian really divided the two countries, the Roman Empire, into two, East and West. And each had their own capital. And Constantine again reunified it and moved the capital of Roman Empire from Rome to Constantinople. That could be, under him worked well, but afterwards, began the signs of decline of the Roman Empire.
Were they being attacked? The western capital of Rome, was it being attacked by a lot of Vandals and other?
Sure, that is
reasons why he moved it over to.
Not that. No. Not because of that. He moved it. I don't know, for maybe some reasons, and he lived there in East, and he started a new. There was a what's called Byzantium was its name. Byzantium. That's from there it comes the Byzantine liturgy and all those things. And he renamed it Constantinople. And then the Turks, when they took it, the Ottoman Turks, when they took it, they renamed it as now Istanbul. So these are the names. Okay. This system of Roman peace that was under prevalent in Roman Empire. Yeah.
One significance about Istanbul, there's a bridge in Istanbul. That bridge literally links
East and West.
Eastern and West.
Yeah.
So Istanbul sits right on the dividing line between the two continents.
See, River Jordan. That divides exactly the different, what's called the country Jordan and Israel. Yeah, one country is called real Jordan, and that is called River Jordan, and that is simply just like I saw it. That was simply looked like a simple small canal. Now, It's not big river. Not even, maybe this classroom right, that's all. That the river Jordan, what I saw, in the border of Jordan and Israel. Now, there is a small bridge going on. Okay, so that is, these things are interesting, when we see things, when we can, that's why I always, insist people, just go and see it. That is very good, then it struts to our mind. Okay, this is called the political background. And, now let us come to the, I don't know whether, the religious background, and then there are so many things to say. One more thing, to see the political background. What was the political background of the Jews at that time? The political background of the Jews. That is important for us. No? When Jesus was born. It was,